Welcome back to Return to Elaania. I'm standing here in the village of Humberg, which is, there you go, the closest village to our home. And eventually I want to come and rebuild this village, rework it, but I'm not there yet. What I have done is kind of jump ahead and replace the monorail system, monorail I call it, a mine track system from Crossroads Farm to here. Now, initially, I had a minecart track that, like this, went along the ground on top of this walkway. I'm going to eventually tear out this walkway and replace it too. But first, I decided I would tackle the minecart track from here, then here to there. So this will continue on, and eventually I'll replace this going off into the distance, which goes thousands of blocks, literally thousands of blocks in that direction. So I'm going with a modern or ultra-modern minecart kind of monorail station look. I live in southern Nevada, and if you've ever been to Las Vegas, there is a monorail there, which I've ridden on, and has fairly modern looking stations high above the ground, so I kind of patterned them very loosely on that. There's going to eventually be glass here and along the sides, and probably here with a door as well. So I built the supports for the track very much like the Las Vegas monorail. You can see my poles here. Very simple design with kind of a T of the new smooth stone texture and a couple of the smooth stone slabs, one on either side. And in order to do that in survival, I created I'm getting a little laggy here. I created a custom recipe so that I could make these. And I'll show you that when I get to a place where I can show you, a place where I have a crafting bench. I chopped up this a bit. This was our old switching station for the old monorail tracks. Some track is still there, most of it's been torn up. This is the new switching station, and the monorail will continue this way. It doesn't yet. And let me jump off of here real quick and gather this because I don't want it to run away. So it stops you here. If you press this, you'll continue on, or if you're coming from this direction, you'll turn that way. And with this one, you'll turn the other direction. You can see the switcher there, and it functions really well, and it's the redstone for it is much improved over the version that I used over there. It's by the same designer, and I will post a link in the description below. So I just hit this and we're off. I'll post a link in the description below so that you can do that to your mine tracks. You might have noticed back there I use wooden buttons instead of stone buttons. That's because they hold the charge just ever so slightly longer. So if you've got a situation where you've got a door or something else that is powered by a button and you're not quite getting a long enough charge, make sure you're using a wooden button instead of a stone button. Doesn't seem like it would make a difference, but it does. So the other station is right up here, and you can see it's very much the same design. This one has the glass in, and we've also got redstone lamp lighting above. So it looks pretty good. And button there to get in. Alright. Let's go down here and just pop into bed for a minute. I had to put a torch here in the fireplace because I realized that's the one place that was spawnable, and I had a zombie in there the other day. Every place else in here is lit up, and in the ceiling it's actually lit up too, but it's also slabs, so nothing can spawn up there. Okay, so you can see I've put in these light posts all the way here, and they go off in this direction. I've ripped out all of this old road that was along here and replaced it with stone and stone bricks mixed with stone for some variation. And this road up here, which goes to Spawn Point Cottage. I'm not going to take you all the way there, I just want to get up here. You can see I've replaced the bridge. It was just kind of a elevated walkway with no supports before. Now it has some supports, and it's got some handrails, and it looks more like a real bridge. And of course it's got the lighting there too. Now the South Road, which I'm going to take a right up here to get to, was one of the only roads in this whole world where I'd actually dug down in to the ground, so it was flush with the road was flush with the surrounding area. Ironically, that was one of the very first roads that I ever built, so I assume I decided later that that was too much work digging it out. But I did that anyway. Here's a place where it's going over a fairly kind of deep gully, so it's almost like a little bridge. But most of the road goes up and down a lot because the landscape goes up and down a lot. Most of the distance here is has the road flush with the surrounding territory. And you can see we've got our lights all the way over here. Did I forget to put one on top of that one? It looks like I did. Need another trapdoor on that. So this was all cobblestone, but I replaced it with this mixture of stone bricks and just plain stone, which I think really gives you, a lot of people might think that's not enough variation, but I think it gives you a realistic feeling of a road that was originally stone brick and yet has been worn down by thousands of years of foot traffic. I don't have any problem throwing cobblestone or andesite in for that matter. That's just, I think this is pretty simple and it looks good. And this isn't a creeper hole, this is a hole I was keeping my horse in when I was running up here. So, you can see the road here ends at the top of this overlook. This is as far south, at least in this part of the world, as I ever went. And so the next thing on the agenda is to replace and or rebuild the Southway Station 1. And that's going to start with me demolishing this. And so I'll do that, and I'll get back with you. We're back. And I have rebuilt this little way station, as it were. I made it taller, raised the ceiling. It was only 2 blocks high, now it's 4 blocks high. It's non-spawnable up there because we've got slabs in. I gave it a couple of windows. I wanted to leave it a little rustic, so I kept the windows without window panes instead of using fences in there. And fixed up the roof a little bit, put the upside down staircases below the overhang that I already had on there. And I've got this recurring chunk error here. And all the time I was building this chunk error was here. And then I walked down to the main house, and when I came back, the chunk error was gone. But then I logged off and came back on, and the chunk error is back. But that's not all that happened. You can see, ooh, that's scary, huh? I was coming back from the main house, and I was running along here, and I'm playing, of course, on my handy-dandy iMac, and just to the left of me is my iPad, and I was watching Hermitcraft, and while I was watching, I came and I ran right off the edge of this ledge and ended up down there. Fortunately, I've got Feather Falling 4, I think. Yeah, on my boots. What a doofus move. You'll also note that the house is 1 block shorter in front to back length, because I didn't want it to be flush up against the walkway here, the road. So I give it a little bit of a porch. I think I will add maybe a flower box here or something, maybe a couple of fence posts on the end. But I don't have any with me right now, so that will be for another day. So look at that. That is so weird. Okay, and once we get out of the get into the distance where this is no longer loaded, this chunk, then I think it will return. But it has, it will return to its normal view. But the chunk error has come back once so far, so there you go. So this makes a pretty nice pathway. It's almost like a little park now, with the lights, and instead of a scary wilderness area, which is kind of what I always considered it when I was playing initially. So, the Spawn Point Cottage, which is up in this direction, up past that tree there, I decided to leave as is. The only thing I did was give it another support underneath. Likewise, I think the main house up here on the left I'm going to leave as it is. It's not how I would build a house today if I were to restart. But, you know, I kind of like it, and it kind of marks a certain point in my building career, my building educational progress. And, you know, although some people will not like the granite combination, I do like the basic shape of the structure with the protruding corners, the steep but then flattened off roof. If I were going to make any changes, I might make the windows larger. This little area outside here is kind of a wasted patio area. It doesn't have an access from the house, but you know, I might make that a little garden instead if I were going to change anything. But I think at least for the moment I'm going to leave it as is, and that includes the front. And I would probably change the sandstone to something else, and I may do that still. But I think all in all, I'm going to leave it as is. Now, Snowtop Keep up here, I don't know if I told you about the origin of this. When I was first playing, I left that cottage, which you can see right there, or the cottage that was there at the time, and I went exploring in the opposite direction, and somehow after wandering around for several days I ended up on the top of this hill, and I had completely lost my way back to my original cottage, and I didn't know anything about finding coordinates by pressing F3, and I didn't know what to do. So I just kind of resigned myself to not being able to find my old house again, which is just barely out of view from this point. And so I built a little house up here. And then, of course, as soon as I was done, I decided to come down and I started building the road down here. And, you know, by the time I got like to there, I was able to see my old house again. And then I felt really stupid. Well, I rebuilt this little castle, and I'm pretty happy with it overall. I think it looks pretty good. The one thing that I really don't like is all of this cobblestone at the bottom, so I'm going to change that to stone brick, or rather a combination of stone brick and regular stone, plain old stone. Like I said before, you can't really call it smooth stone because there's a separate block now called smooth stone. So let's see. Yeah, this is only 4 high, this cobblestone. So it's fairly easy just to chop out a chunk at a time and replace. And we've already got sunset coming. And I think what I'm going to do is go ahead and use all of this stone brick, and then I'll come in and replace some of it with the regular stone for texture variation. There's a great picture with the balloon in the distance. My first animal pens right over there. And just up that road in the distance, the town of Hamburg. Actually, it's not quite up that road. There's a little detour at the end, but that's neither here nor there. Okay. And blank banners. I guess I put those up before I learned how to make banners. That's the only thing I can think of. Yeah, see, that looks like 100 times better already. And we don't even have the texture variation in yet. So once we get that in, it will look 200 times better. I got to remember to do 4 high and not stop at 3. And this is like super easy. There's no stairs or anything here. It's just blocks. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish this all the way around, and then we'll come back. We are back, and you can see I've got it all done except for those 2 blocks that are right above my head that I obviously missed. But I've not only gone all the way around, but I've replaced the floor inside too. Now I'm going to leave the top cobblestone for the time being because I think it looks okay with the wood as the floor for the wood story up above, and also it's a little different than the stone in here. I don't want stone bricks everywhere, all 4 sides, and the floor and ceiling. So now we just need to create a sort of random set of blocks to replace here, and I think that looks pretty good. I mean, the truth is you can never actually get a random arrangement unless you actually do some kind of a random number generator. But the idea is to get something that looks sort of random, or at the very least something that looks like you've got some wear. And that looks pretty good. Now what I'm going to do later, I think, is replace some of the blocks at the corners and near the base with some cracked stone brick. Those would be kind of the places where structurally you would have some damage over time. Yeah, that's okay. Let's see how that looks. Might need to add a couple more. I think that's all right. And the last wall. There's one that I missed because it's behind the stairs. Okay, there, couple here. Whoops. All right, let's see how that looks. I think I need another one down here. Maybe up here. Okay. And he said it was good. All right. This is going to be completely replaced in a future episode. And we've got these two. Now I was thinking of replacing those two with crafting chests, but I prefer to have them, if I do that, I prefer to have them blocked back so they look like a kind of a doormat. I needed to do that anyway so I could set those inward. Alright, so I calculated out the floor here was 176 blocks. So if we did something like 17, so that's what? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Yeah, they'd probably be more worn right here in the front, wouldn't you think? People just coming in. Okay, that's more than 17, and that's okay. Let's see how this looks. This took me a while to smelt this stone because I don't have a super smelter yet in this world. I don't even have a multi-smelter. I just smelted them all by hand. And that took a while. Yeah, okay, same thing. I think there would be some under the stairs and by the back door here. Or not under the stairs, but in front of the stairs, I should say. I think I mentioned I like using the regular stone to break up the stone brick. Not only does it give you texture variation, but it actually kind of really does look like the stone is broken down over time. A lot of people like to throw in cobblestone and andesite, and that's perfectly fine if that's what you want to do, but this is the way I like this look. Yep, I think that's good. All right, and as the sun goes down, we come down here and take a quick look at the redone Snowtop Keep. At least the bottom floor is redone. So, thanks for joining me again on this trip back to Elaania. And if you enjoyed yourself, please press like. Think about subscribing. There will be another upcoming episode, so check back. And it won't be too long before I will be starting on 2 multiplayer servers. The Wells Night Patreon server and the Greenhouse, which is the Patreon server of Stina Rose, one of the rising stars in YouTube gaming. So I'll be starting on both those servers, and I'll be keeping track with videos from both those locations. I got some big plans. It'll be fun. So thanks again, and as always, keep on Minecrafting.